Maidens because I heard that there's some issues with it. So, all
There's
right,
some
Wayne.
issues with the reissues.
Yeah.
All right, we're ready to go. Just loading up to YouTube.
Loading. Had to.
What? All right. How is everybody? Good? Good?
We're good.
All right,
We're
good.
good.
Oh, no intro? What the fuck?
No, intro's coming right now.
It's time for Red Salad Review with your hosts, Wayne Noon, Greg Narlow, and Lou Maddox.
Yeah, welcome to Rat Salad Review. What's up, everybody? How are you? How's Lou? Well, what is that, Lou?
It's my Eddie Funko.
Wow, very
Oh,
cool.
cool.
How are
got
you,
it, Eddie.
Manny?
Not bad. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Greg? What is that?
I'm great. That is the original promo Japanese Rothschild symbol.
Ooh.
Wow.
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
Collector's
Very
item.
cool.
Very
and,
cool.
And hello, James. How are you?
Not happy to be here. No.
Straight up having a bad
You'll
time.
learn. I don't have this tattoo for no reason.
Oh, wow. I never knew all these years you were inked.
Yes.
Good man.
Oh, very cool. And hello, Eric Adams. We are finally on. Yes, sorry, we're a little late. I had to wait for one of our co-hosts to be ready here, and then also my.
I was eating Mexican food, damn it.
Yeah. When you guys get Dan Lilliker on as a co-host, I don't know if that's happening anytime. That would be cool though. We did try to get him on, but he's like unable to be found. Really.
Who's this?
The Dan Lilliker from
SOG Nuclear Assault.
yeah. Couldn't think of the damn name.
Got it. Yeah.
He's on
We got-
parts unknown.
We have close though. We got Manny. He kind of looks like Dan Lilliker, so close enough.
But more coherent.
All right, but today, part 2 of our Judas Priest versus Iron Maiden battle series.
It's
Today's-
a Slanaka.
It is today's 3 albums actually is Sad Wings of Destiny and Sin After Sin by Judas Priest and Killers by Iron Maiden.
Yes. And because I came up with the matchups just to explain to the viewers what I tried to do, since they both have almost an equal number of albums. However, in the early period, Judas Priest put out a lot more than Iron Maiden did, and vice versa in modern times. So I paired some up based on things like where they were in their career, the sound of certain albums, to kind of go together. And both Sad Wings and Sin After Sin are transitional albums for them.
Right, exactly. And I thought you were going to move the fan because it's blowing into the phone.
I can turn it off, but it's goddamn hot here.
Not my problem.
Let the man sweat, okay? For quit being such an audiophile. My God.
All right, then we'll just all night long.
Yeah.
Wayne,
Yeah,
stop
well,
blowing.
Wayne,
it's Lionel
Pride
Richie. It's
Month
all
is
night.
ended.
You walked right into that one, buddy.
Hey.
All right. Let's get this show on the road. What is he saying now? Eric Adams, James looks like the hip county commission for Yellowstone, Montana. I don't know. what that
Yes.
I've never
Great
seen the
show.
show, so
means. Me neither. I
You
don't
mean he
know.
looks like Ranger Smith from Yogi Bear?
Damn, Yogi.
that would
There you
actually
go,
be
Wine.
cool.
I turned it off.
Oh, there we go. That sounds much
All
better.
right, now you can
Yellowstone
sweat.
there. That's a different
Yeah.
part altogether.
All right. We'll start with Judas Priest, Sad Wings of Destiny. The second album, released March 23rd, 1976 on Gold Records. It's also the only album to feature Alan Moore on drums, and it is the last album to be released on Gold Records. The band were dissatisfied with the label and would break their contract to sign with CBS Records. All right. Who wants to go first? Manny?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I actually like Sad Wings of Destiny. I think it's a great album. It's a groundbreaking album. I wasn't known at that time because I think it sold about 2 copies. I agree with Greg. It's a transitional album for sure. They were still finding their sound, but they were getting there with songs like The Ripper. I believe Genocide's on there. I wish I had the album in front of me right now.
Yes, Genocide is on there.
Thank you.
You're right on
Um,
both counts. Sir.
Victim of changes.
Yeah, victim of changes, and they still have their one foot sort of firmly planted into the blues, so they haven't quite, shredded that influence yet from their musical repertoire. I like the album a lot. They show a different side to themselves, like songs like Epitaph, where I believe that's Clint Tipton playing the piano on there. Overall, I think it's such a huge improvement over Rock-a-Rolla in terms of songwriting, performance, even production is much improved. Though I doubt their budget got any better from the first to the second album. But all that touring probably did them a lot of good, and it shows. They sound like a seasoned band, unlike the first album, where they sounded what they were, a brand new band.
Yeah, definitely matured on this album and started to sound more like Judas Priest. You know,
Absolutely.
they got to sound like their own selves now with this album. But I think this album's really good. I mean, it's one of my favorite Priest albums. Got a lot of songs on here that I like. A lot of songs I didn't hear till what do you call it? The cover album.
Hero.
No, the covers album. That's a compilation.
The tribute to Judas Priest
The
that
tribute,
came out on
yes.
Century Media
Wait,
back
that
in like
is so
96.
weird.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you not hear these songs till then?
Where were they going to play them? What radio station?
Well, I mean, yeah, but Wayne, I don't think Wayne has ever listened to radio like me, so I'm just surprised.
I
he
used
didn't.
to back in, like, when I was younger. That's all I had was the radio. The only thing
Back
I had
in the
from,
day.
yeah, the only thing that I had from Judas Priest was that Samurai covered album, the best of.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
the one
think
with the two nights,
It's
right?
just a
Oh,
yeah,
the
it's
two
like,
nights. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
yeah.
the
the
best.
one, with the one with the belly on the head.
Yeah, yes.
Head on the
Yes,
belly. Head
that's
on the
the
belly.
one.
That was the only thing I had, and that was like back in like maybe late 80s, early 90s or whatever. And I listened to it maybe a few times, but just I wasn't like into Judas Priest at the time, and the sound of them at that time, I just didn't like it, And
You think you're a little
Well,
too
that
young
album
for it?
just-
yeah, probably a little
Are
too
you
young.
having an earthquake over there, Wayne? What the
No,
hell?
I'm shaking my table.
Yeah, you are.
I'm
You're
typical
so anxious
New
about
Yorker,
this
moving my
album.
hands around.
having-
But
He's quivering because of this album.
but yeah, I remember listening to those songs back then, but like they didn't register with me, so they didn't really stick with me. So then when that tribute album came out, a lot of these songs like Merciful Fate did the Ripper. So I was a huge Merciful Fate by the time this came out. So
And Halloween did
Halloween did
the
Electric
Guy, but
but it
that
wasn't on that.
right.
But yeah, hearing the Merciful Fate through the Ripper, I was like blown away by that. So then I went back and got to hear the original version. But even what's the other song that was on it? Oh, Tyrant. Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But Victim of Changes, I really like a lot, and this is where Halford really shows off his voice, I think, the most, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And then I just mentioned the Ripper. So I love the Ripper. That's probably one of my favorite songs off this album. Just very catchy, very kind of to the point type song. Dreamer Deceiver, it's an okay ballad. I like how Halford was doing his high pitched vocals in some parts in that song.
Mhm.
Deceiver, I like this one again. Some great vocals, melodies from Halford. Tyrant, this song, I like the song, and again, I heard this first with Overkill covering it, and I
Mhm.
like their version a little bit more. Only because the way they say the tyrant thing, because when Priest does it, when
Yes,
Halford does it,
his breathy
yeah,
post-orgasm.
yeah, it's like he woke him up from a
Chorus.
nap and here, record this.
It drives me insane because I heard Unleashed in the East first, and they had coalesced fully into what set the tone for heavy metal after that by the time they got to Stained Class, and it was much more menacing and aggressive and faster,
Right.
and just more cohesive. So yeah, that's as much as I love the song, that's always bothered me.
Yeah. I wish they would have like maybe went back and re-recorded it at some point, but that's why I like Overkill's version, because they say it like kind of the way it should have been said originally. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Overkill version at all.
No, I've never heard that tribute album in my life.
It's actually really, it's got a lot of really good songs. If it wasn't for that tribute album, I probably would have never went back and listened to Judas Priest.
Well, I guess it did its job then.
It did
But
its job.
yeah,
Same thing with the Dio tribute album too. I wasn't a huge fan of Dio.
Holy
until I got
Dio.
yeah, that was like one of my favorite tributes.
see, I think that's where our age difference comes in. I don't
Right.
remember how old you are, Wayne, but
Old enough.
tribute albums.
Damn old.
Judas Priest was such a big deal when I was a kid,
Right.
and Sad Wings of Destiny was one of the budget albums. You would always, because as a kid you only had a limited amount of money, so I'd go find the budget bins and there was Sad Wings of Destiny for like $5 opposed to something for 10, so I would buy that.
Yeah.
You know, but I think this is where the age difference comes in because I would hear this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, the only thing that they used to play on the radio was like Living After Midnight or Breaking the Law. That's the only
Nothing's
things I remember.
changed.
And
Nothing's
you
I
got
know,
another
of course,
thing
it's
about
still
it.
on the radio.
No.
Yeah, that one too. Yeah. Genocide, probably the most of the letdown track from this album. But did anybody notice that the lyrics in this song was the lyrics that they used for the next? Not the lyrics, but a lyric in the song was for the next album, Sin After Sin.
Yes, that was on
Yeah,
purpose.
yeah, yeah. I noticed that.
That was on purpose.
Yes.
Really? Oh, I didn't think they would have think that far ahead. Just
Yeah, I
figured they
didn't
just
think so
wrote it.
either. Yeah, I just thought they would just like sin after sin or whatever the hell he's
Right.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't have the idea in mind at the time they did it on Sad Wings, but when they went to title the next album, they said, "Yeah, let's call it Sin After Sin," because they thought it was a really cool line.
Oh, well, they didn't. So they didn't think of it while they were writing that song, which is
No,
what made it sound.
not while they were writing it.
Epitaph, a very different song. I don't think they would ever go back to do something like this ever again. Just piano and Rob singing, right?
They came close on Nostradamus and a few little tracks here
Yeah,
and
I
there, but
guess.
not quite that naked like it is on Epitaph. I agree.
Right. And it's very Queen-like too. I like how like Rob does those layered vocals. It's really cool for something, but
Yeah,
it kind of made the album like a little disjointed a little bit. I don't know. Maybe it could have been a B-side, but it's a cool song. I don't mind it.
it's funny you mentioned that because the Queen connection, I thought I might be the only one to pick up on it, was what I was going to mention that I was curious about. But yeah, Dream Deceiver, Epitaph, Prelude, all even the vocal effects and the different ranges he does on like the Ripper and Victim of Changes are very reminiscent kind of what Freddie did on the early Queen records.
Right.
And people forget that Queen, it's almost ridiculous to say, but Queen in 1973-74, and you can go back to old articles, were considered a heavy metal band. And if you listen to Queen 1 or Live at the Rainbow, it's pretty damn heavy, you know, for 1974. I don't think Queen themselves considered themselves a heavy metal band, but that's what they were considered, at least in the first part of their career.
Right.
But that's a good point. The Queen influence is definitely there, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think Freddie probably would have said, "We're rocking, we're hard, baby."
Actually, he might have said something like that. Actually,
and the song
I'd have
Island
probably answered yes to Island of Domination if Rob would have asked.
yes, right. I like that song a lot, Island Domination. And funny enough, that's like one of the only songs I do remember from that best of record that I had. Listening to it back then, when I first had it.
Interesting you didn't pick up on Victim of Changes though, because it has such a memorable riff. But
it does, but I don't know. I'm
yeah, it does. Person. But you brought up Unleashed in the East earlier, Greg, and I think the versions on that smoke every version on the studio cut that they performed on there. I mean, yeah. I mean, I know we're not going to talk about live albums, but to me, those are the definitive versions. But I love Sad Wings of Destiny personally. But yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about it too. I love Sad Wings as well. The definitive versions are on Unleashed, but Sad Wings is a very cohesive record for the most part. I mean, they're still dicking around a little bit with other 70s sounds, like more deeply rooted in the blues rock. The guitar playing hasn't gotten aggressive yet, really, or anything like that. But in the lyrics, they've already, in songs like Genocide and the Ripper, gone even beyond where Black Sabbath was going lyrically at the time. Sabbath definitely has some really strong songs in like War Pigs and Hand of Doom, about describing the darker side of life. But I don't think they were ever quite as blatant about it up to that point as Priest were on this record. So it's very dark and menacing, and it has its own good sound. It's just not as good as what they would become, but it's still a classic.
Eric Adams is a chatty Cathy tonight in the chat.
Yeah, he's a chatty Cathy.
It says Sad Wing stinks. It sounds like an emo maxi pad line. Judas Priest sucks, period. They are always chasing the trend from day one in 1974.
That's
only-
bullshit.
The only thing worse than Judas Priest.
So to
Is
disagree
Tim
with my
Rollins.
former podcast host there, I actually enjoyed Sad Wings. It made me come to an epiphany though, and I know this is going to make people a little angry. I don't like the high pitched singing.
Yeah,
I really don't.
I can get it. Yeah.
Like I truly, it is awful for me, and it's not. And don't get me wrong, I love some of the songs on this album, that the more southern rock ones. But my God, some of it was just like, I'm just get me out of here. Let me let me out. Let me out. This is gonna be a long. It's gonna be a long series.
I will.
Sin after sin got worse.
Even though I do like Alfred and his vocal style a lot, yes, he does go a little too over the top sometimes, especially on this album. And that's why I don't really particularly care for Island of Domination. Musically, it's a good song. Lyrically, it's okay. It's just some of the shit he does with the highs and the falsettos is just too much. It sounds comical almost on that song.
I showed my wife this song. I was listening to this and she was like, "What the hell are you listening to?" And I played it and it got to that part and she's like, "What in the hell are you listening to? And why are you doing this to yourself?" Knowing me, she's like, "Why are you doing this to yourself?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm blaming these poor clowns."
Well, to your wife, I say yuck, yuck, ho, ho.
Oh,
Actually,
I know she's a nice lady.
I actually like
No, I didn't call her the hoe. I'm just saying yuck. Oh, forget it.
I actually like I like how high he can sing back then.
Right,
I like the fact. I actually into that. Mainly, I'm impressed because I could never do that in a million years. I think
Well, you
the
could,
only
but you'd pass out.
I
Well,
would pass out even attempting it. But it's just to me, it's amazing. I don't know many singers who could do that in that genre.
Oh no. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not impressive, and I don't think it doesn't take talent. I just don't like it.
Well, I
Like
get that.
Wayne doesn't like growling. He likes to have the people singing like their pants are cutting off the circulation of their genitalia.
But I do
yeah,
like growling.
Yosemite
sometimes.
Sam, these
I
are
went
the
through this.
tightest, most testicleless, squeezingest jeans I've ever had. Let's go cut a power metal record.
Exactly. That's what he likes. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who like it. Like, I never have been into that really high falsetto singing. I'm just never been into it, and it's going to be very difficult for me to break me from this stance. However, I'm giving it the old junior college try.
Well, James, you want to tell us what you think about Sad Wings? Like, what do you really think about it?
Oh no! I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed most of the songs on it. I'm not a big a fan of The Ripper and Dream Deceiver, only because that's kind of what they go to, and I liked how they were. And I think I put it in there. I was like, why couldn't they just stay the way they were?
Yeah.
Because I liked how they were. I don't like what they become. And that's not saying, the whole, leather and all. I'm just saying song, music wise, I enjoy this stuff more than I do their later stuff.
So you like the psychedelic type Judas Priest?
Hell yeah.
I think you're going to find stuff you like as we move forward. Not, him and I don't like comparing him and Freddie Mercury for one reason. They both happen to be gay men, and it just sounds cliche. But vocal wise, both Rob Halford kept it up a bit longer, but as Freddie got older, even though he could still do the falsetto and high notes, he just stopped kind of doing that after a while. And then live, he didn't want to kill his voice, so he would, change the. Yeah. Anyway, it'll be interesting as we go along. What you think? But a few albums in, who gets carried away with it at points and times? I will agree with that.
Especially the next one, I think. Greg.
Wait a minute. Is Greg talking about Sad Wings next? Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, I thought Lou was next. Unless
Yeah,
Greg's
Lou's next.
There's
Way
no
to keep
ready.
Way to
There was
freaking leave
no-
them out in the cold.
There was
I
no
thought-
order.
Greg, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nice. No, go ahead, Lou. That's all right. Don't
No,
want to.
I thought you spoke. I apologize. Please go.
You know what? Nobody's doing it. We're moving on.
Not
Sin
shut
After
up,
Sin.
Wayne. Greg, go.
No, so I like this album a lot, and I wasn't trying to say I didn't like high vocals completely. It's just on this album, and especially the next one, like Wayne was saying, he was still experimenting with his voice, trying to find that exact right balance. And there's just a couple moments like on Island of Domination where wasn't nuts about it, and it sounded a little silly, but overall it's a great record. The songwriting got much stronger here, and it's a definite classic. And one thing that Priest did that I think was different, and the biggest reason they really set the template for like the new wave of British heavy metal and pretty much everything that has followed is, and you can hear it especially on this record, they took a little bit from everything that was around them in the 70s and tried to incorporate it into their sound. I mean, you can hear Black Sabbath, Thin Lizzy's melodiousness, and how they start to do the twin guitar attack here. You know, what I already mentioned about Queen, it's just a very interesting amalgamation of influences, and neat how they made their own sound out of it, but also pretty heavy and dark and a little unprecedented as well.
Yeah, I'll go. James is laughing.
Sorry, I'm reading our comment section about Manny's beautiful hairline and how it throws Lou into our category.
I will agree with Eric on one point, even though I think most of his statement is false, but they definitely did. And a lot of the times it was at the behest of the record company, chased trends a little bit later on. But
Right.
That's way down the road.
But
That's way, yeah.
not here. I understand that, you know, some people here like Epitaph and even Prelude and Dream Deceiver and think, oh, well, that's kind of out of left field. They must have been whatever. No, they were just experimenting with different things. And I think it all actually fits within the context of this record. I mean, Epitaph is different, but it's still based in that blues rock enough, and then with the melodious influences on the rest of the record, where I really don't think, other than the piano, it's really all that out of place.
Yeah, I agree with you. Lou, what do you think?
Favorite tracks: Victim of Changes, The Ripper, Deceiver, and Tyrant. Full disclosure, but the versions on Unleashed in the East are far superior. Now, mind you, growing up until I was a college radio DJ, and Koch Records sent us the reissues of Rock and Roll and Sad Wings of Destiny, the only Priest albums I really listened to up until that point were British Steel, Screaming for Vengeance, and Defenders of the Faith. And I knew Turbo, but that was a bit too glossy for me. So when
it didn't lock you in.
No,
You kept your
it
hand
didn't
off
rock me
because it
all
was
around the
private
world
property.
either.
Well, that's gonna
we'll
be
get
fun when
we'll
we
get to that
album.
we'll get to that come Turbo somewhere in time. But you know, when I first put on Sad Wings of Destiny, I was like, oh, this is the Victim of Changes is on this. You know, like I knew of it, but I never heard it. So the moment I put it on, I was like blown away. I'm like, this is what Priest sounded like, you know, and I immediately fell in love with it. To me, it was like a I wouldn't even say it was a continuation of what Black Sabbath had started with heavy metal. But with this album, this is where I say that Judas Priest was beginning to perfect heavy metal as a genre. So this is where the upward trajectory begins, as far as I'm concerned. I absolutely love it. I think it's a classic. Again, I still hold true to the fact that the live versions on Unleashed in the East sound superior, but as a collection, I think it's something that's vital for for everyone's CD or record collection. I would suggest it's a keeper, you know, and it's a real historical it's a real historical documentation of, you know, where metal as a genre, where it began to where it was at that point in time to where it would go. So yeah, no, it's one of my top 5 favorite Priest albums.
Very, very cool. It's got a really cool album cover too. I think it's actually one of my favorite Priest album covers.
And they revisited the Angel on future records.
Right.
Everyone's apparently the Angel that's on Painkiller and Angel Retribution. It started from this album.
Okay.
So
cool. Did not know that. You got something to say, Greg?
No,
Oh, I thought I
no.
heard you say that.
Just,
All right.
Well,
what he
I,
said.
I agree
yes,
with Lou. Yeah.
the definitive versions are definitely on Unleashed in the East. I cannot stress that enough. That is one of the best albums of all time.
And Manny, what you were saying? What?
I think if we ever do a history of heavy metal hard rock, it will be a very interesting conversation because because the genre hadn't really defined itself yet. And like Luke pointed out, this were the albums that helped define itself. I mean, critics back then were basically calling any band they had, it was a heavy metal band. Alice Cooper, heavy metal, Aerosmith. And it was basically saying this is like caveman music or whatever, because it didn't bother
dinosaur rock.
Yeah. Because if you listen to Black Sabbath, even like Volume 4, Master Reality, there's a lot going on there musically. It isn't just heaviness for the sake of heaviness. And same thing with this album with Judas Priest. So I agree with Lou. And I do think it's a classic, and I think it belongs in every collection that if you're a hard rock fan, including James, who will get used to the high pitched singing at some point in his life. Anyway,
Annie, I believe you have way more faith in high pitched singing than I do.
I'm a defender of the faith. Anyway, go ahead, Wade.
And
well
thank you
played,
for taking
Manny.
the
Well
lead.
played.
Yes, I grooved that fastball right there for you.
Third Judas Priest album, Sin After Sin, released April 8th, 1977, and is their major label debut on Columbia Records. Produced by Deep Purple bassist Roger Glover, who the band would fire after one session, only to be called back after things weren't working out.
And he still hasn't gotten paid for it.
Is
So
that
he
true?
claims. Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, it is true.
Oh, wow. It's also the only album to feature Simon Phillips on drums. Alan Moore was let go because the band didn't feel like his style was evolving with the band. And the album title came from the song Genocide, which I mentioned earlier before. Go ahead, Lou. I'll let you go first.
All right, first of all, let me just say Simon Phillips is one of the best drummers that freaking Judas Priest ever played with on record. I think his playing on it helped make the record sound as good as it does. I mean, this is a guy who's played with members of The Who. And I think he was 17 when he recorded his drum parts. It's a shame that he didn't stay on board, or that he was only hired as a session drummer. But Sin After Sin has so many classic songs in their repertoire. One thing I just wanted to piggyback on Sad Wings of Destiny. The fact that they still play Victim of Changes, I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
I'll take that over the ones that I hear on the radio all the time.
Right.
But this album has Sinner. It's got Starbreaker, Let Us Pray, Call for the Priest, and my favorite Judas Priest song of all time, Dissident Aggressor. That is I would say that song and Sabbath's Symptom of the Universe are the beginning of what we would know in the next decade as thrash metal, as far as I'm concerned. And a great cover of Joan Baez's Diamonds and Rust to top off aside from all the other tracks. And you kind of hear little inklings of Rob Halford's sexual orientation in the song Raw Deal.
Inklings? subtle hints.
He came out of the closet in 6 minutes, which, don't get me wrong, is great, especially for the time period it was. I'm happy he was able to do it and be proud of it, but it just kills me how people are like, oh, it's subtle or whatever. No,
it's not subtle.
Well, you know what? I didn't catch it as a kid. I didn't have, I just took it as a song.
You were a kid, Manny. You were a kid. You didn't understand that was even a lifestyle.
No, actually, you're right. You're right. But it's kind of funny. I'm a lyric guy, but Judas Priest is one of those bands that I kind of know what he's singing, but I'm not always paying attention to what he's actually singing about.
Hence why I went over your head.
Hard boys standing at the bar, pour me a bourbon.
Well, as a 52-year-old guy, I get that now, but I was 14, that would have never occurred to me, you know. I mean,
But
I mean, I'm surprised you guys can listen to the lyrics over the high pitched singing. So I mean, you know,
well, Jesus, I'm sorry that you have acute hearing. I mean, would you like a doggy
Actually-
bone? Anyway,
yeah,
one
I
bothers
want a
me
shot
more
collar
because-
more like it, or a freaking shot of bourbon so I can forget it.
yeah, right away. Anyways, but to conclude what I was saying, I love this friggin' record. Again, one of my top 5 favorite Priest albums, and yeah, can't say enough good things about it. So
I'm going to assume, James, you'll never join us on a King Diamond show.
Okay, here I say I love King Diamond's gimmick. And you know, I enjoy the music of it. I can't. It's a singing no. It's a no for me, dog. All right, it's different strokes for different folks. All right, you know, just like Rob Halford, different strokes for different folks, dog. It's not for me.
All right, what do you think of Sin After Sin?
Great musically, the singing just took me out of it. I really had trouble getting into this album.
Wow.
There were some good songs in there, but I don't remember them because it just.
Now, see, this
rough.
one, I thought you would have found some more stuff because it is kind of disco.
No, I enjoyed more the Sad Wings than I did this.
Oh,
but
interesting.
James, you're going to have a problem with Bruce Dickinson when we get to him. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh,
James.
trust me, I know very much about Bruce Dickinson.
one thing I want to say, though, Starbreaker was performed on the Epitaph tour, their supposed farewell tour.
Really? Did they do the claps?
No, they did not.
Thank God.
And it sounded great. That was Richie Faulkner's first tour with the band, and I was just so happy to hear that song. They did one song from each album for that tour, so that was
Oh,
great.
that would have been cool, actually. Yeah.
2.5 hours. It was probably the best I ever saw them. So,
Greg.
I've got Starbreaker on some collection they released overseas, a live version where they stuck together the B-sides. There's nothing rare on it. It's, you know, live cuts or whatever. Sounded pretty good. Anyway, go ahead, Wayne. I interrupted.
Greg.
Okay. Yeah. Couldn't tell what you were saying. That's all. But so I had Unleashed in the East way before I had this one, and Stained Class and the other albums that surrounded. For whatever reason, this one was a little hard to find. But when I did first get it and I first put it on, I absolutely hated the first side of this record because it's so vastly different from how they would sound. It's not a terrible album by any means. I do like it. It does have some classic songs on it, but there's a couple of things that really bother me about this, and I know it's transitional, so I try not to be too hard on them, but the songs on here don't all flow. Last Rose of Summer totally comes out of nowhere on side one, and he's doing something different with his vocals too, and it just totally destroys the whole flow of the album. But to begin with, it's kind of disjointed because it comes in with something fast and aggressive, kind of leaning towards where they would solidify on the next album. But not all of the band is playing as fast and aggressive as Halford singing, and Simon Phillips is playing drums throughout the whole song. And that can kind of get really annoying on the slower parts because it almost sounds like they're playing two separate songs. I still like it, but that's one thing that bothers me about Sinner on this record, especially. It still sounds great, but it kind of sounds like they don't know what the fuck they're doing until they get to the end part of the song. And then everyone's coming in together at the same time and on time. But also the disco backbeat to Diamonds and Rust, which it's an interesting cover. They do a great job with it, but Unleashed in the East is definitely the superior version. And this definitely sounds like an attempt at a radio song, which is what it was. And that's why Roger Glover encouraged them to record it and thought it was a great idea. I mean, they did do a great job with it and had done a version before around the Rock-a-Rolla time. But yeah, that 70s disco radio influence just doesn't do it for me on that. But
Greg, what you're saying is that you don't like Kiss's I Was Made for Loving You?
When Kiss did I Was Made for Loving You, they were at least in sync with each other.
And it was kind of expected because the previous album was kind of disco.
Yeah, and it was expected, and all of Dynasty kind of follows along that line. It doesn't go from Sinner into
Yeah.
Diamonds and Rust.
I like
Which-
Dynasty.
So
I like
And-
Dynasty too.
The hand claps don't really bother me all that much in Starbreaker. I wish they weren't there. It doesn't need it, but that's not like the cardinal sin for me on this one. Side 2, I think, is really where it picks up, though. Except for even though I like Raw Deal, it kind of goes back to this boogie beat that's more reminiscent of what they were doing on Rockarola, and it just the guitars and the drumming fit, but overall the tone of the song is just really different from the rest of the songs that surround it. Like Here Come the Tears is a ballad, but it still is very heavy and has that menacing tone to it, like Let Us Pray, Call for the Priest, and then Dissident Aggressor do. So it's just kind of disrupts otherwise what's a really good dark flow on side 2 of the original album. But I like it. It's a good record. It's not their best. They were definitely still figuring things out and trying different things as it was their major label debut, and maybe went a little bit too far with some of the experimentation here. And as good as Simon Phillips is, and I love his drumming, he's a great drummer and he does an awesome job here. I don't think they had enough time to gel as a unit before they recorded this, because he just seems so much further ahead of where they are for the most part. But it's still a good album, still has plenty of classic songs, just not one of my favorites.
Manny.
I like Sin After Sin, but first time I heard it, I didn't love it. I didn't hear Unleashing the East first. I heard this first. I didn't love it. I'm not a big fan of Roger Glover as a producer. I mean, he's produced quite a few albums. I don't really like that dry sound he has on albums. It took me a while to get used to it. It wasn't something that connected with me right away. I definitely think it's a good album. I think it would be a great album if the production was better, or maybe they took a little more time. Simon Phillips is actually, as you guys point out, pretty impressive drummer. He played with Jeff Beck. You play with Jeff Beck, you ain't no slouch, you know. And yeah, he was hired as a session guy. I don't know if Rob Halford or Clint Tipton knew him, or maybe Roger Glover brought him in, because, you know, Roger Glover was in Deep Purple, were huge. I don't know. But I think he did a fantastic job. I think the songs are great. I think they're let down by the production. I never noticed a disco beat in Diamonds and Rust, though. I have to go back.
Not really a disco beat. It just feels like an overall disco type song. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
You guys
It's
ever know
totally
what a disco
disco.
beat
It's
is? 'Cause it's quite an essential one.
Well,
Yes,
it's
of course.
what 4/4, but yeah, you know. I mean, the song itself. Joan Baez wrote about a relationship with Bob Dylan. I mean, that's why the lyrics are interesting to hear. Rob, you know, and you know, there you are on the telephone, hearing your voice. Like, anyway, we can go on, but
I'll be damned. Here comes your ghost again. Sorry,
yeah.
couldn't help it.
I mean, no, I mean it really is one of those major put down songs of relationship. You know, basically, you know, you're a complete bastard. You're so good with words. Where are they now? Anyway,
You're such a bastard.
I mean, what was more of a vicious song, this or You're So Vain by Carly Simon? Who knows?
probably this one, because You're So Vain. You can take it a little.
You're So
lighter.
Vain is very transparent and very upfront. You know, it's like kind of like the You Ought to Know of the 70s.
Okay, well, we know that
60s.
You're So Vain was about Warren Beatty, but I'm not convinced that You Ought to Know was about Dave Coulier.
I doubt it. It's
Dave Coulier, all right? He's a Canadian star, all right? Do not get on this.
Cut it out. Moving right along.
I don't know. I didn't like the production on it overall, but I like the album quite a bit. It's not my favorite Judas Priest, but I will put it up. I still would rank it pretty high. So obviously, I'm a major Judas Priest fan.
Roger Glover did produce a lot of Rainbow records once he joined
Yes,
them.
he
Correct?
did. Yeah,
See,
he did.
it's funny because I definitely hear a similarity in production quality between this and those. So I get what you're saying about the dry.
It's very dry, very clean, like too shiny. in a way.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
do like it, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's a little too clean. I'm not saying, Judas Priest doesn't need a John Mutt Lang. They need we'll get to it when we get to the next album, but they need a producer who understands them. I think Roger Bain was a better fit than Roger Glover was as a producer, in my opinion.
Let me see.
Oh, I almost forgot. This is their first album of several that Raslaw Sabo did the cover art for.
No, it's a great cover. It's a great cover.
Yep, and he would also design their Forever logo basically on the next record too.
Merciful Fate. Judas Priest has a knack for doing cover songs as Judas Priest songs and often outshining the original. I kind of do agree on that.
Yeah,
I will not disagree with that.
Because they
I'm
made
not
that song their own.
Except
basically.
Johnny Be Good.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
That song.
You know what? When we get to it, I will defend that song. But anyway, keep going.
Oh,
You're a man on an island. That's all I'm gonna say.
An island of domination. Anyway, go ahead.
Enough with the puns. That's my gig, not yours. Remember that.
I do like this album for the most part, and actually, I really like most of you guys. I didn't like it when I first heard it, and I remember Ralph Vieira, Dr. Fuck. We just released a Kiss video of Unholy yesterday, so go check that out on the channel. He actually posted a picture of him, he was listening to that album one night or whatever, and I said something sarcastically because I really didn't care for this album too much, so of course he said something sarcastic back to me. But after listening to it a couple of days ago, I actually do like it a little bit more now. Like the song Sinner, I really like that a lot. I think it's a really good opening track, and my favorite part is that guitar solo in the middle of the song, those two dueling guitars. I love that.
It's killer.
It is.
Yeah, that's his killer. Yeah,
it's great. And Diamonds Rust, I love the other version that was on the best of or whatever. I really never heard the one Unleashed in the East, but I like the other version.
It sounds more like Priest would.
Right.
And honestly, the rock and roller version on the best of the blues rock, I like better than this one too.
Yeah, definitely. It's just heavier, and it just it's not so. I don't know.
That disco sound. It sounds like they were going to be on after Casey and the Sunshine Band on Dick Clark's Top Fucking 40. It just
well remember
that is my top fucking 20. Special requested Greg Dargo. My cock.
Remember, we're still talking about a period prior
Criminals
to
don't age, going.
Right.
Criminals and Dick Clark.
We're still talking about a period prior to what Rush sang about in Spirit of Radio, where programming was becoming all the thing and you had to play the same 40 tracks over and over again. Metal bands were playing with singer-songwriters back in the day, and they were playing with bands that you normally wouldn't think would sound like them. I mean, Priest has opened for Kiss, they've opened for Led Zeppelin, Sabbath opened for James Taylor, or it was vice versa. So, and back then it wasn't odd to see a band that's more on the harder side play with someone who's singing Fire and Rain. So
no, I think one of
that was the 70s.
Priest's first American tours was actually with REO Speedwagon.
It was.
That is correct. It was correct. Yep.
And Gary Richrath was an awesome guitar player. Rest in peace.
And those guys in REO Speedwagon are pretty cool guys. I mean, they've I'm not an REO Speedwagon fan, but they said some pretty nice things about Judas Priest, and they said they're very proud they took them on that first tour. So to me, I think that's cool, especially since Judas Priest eclipsed him in popularity and sales. I mean, so Last Rose of the Summer, I thought was we're okay, 1981. No, afterwards, yeah. You're talking about overall catalog. Last Rose of the Summer, I like that song. It's a little too long. I kind of agree with Greg. It just comes out of. It seems like, we've got this ballad. Let's throw it somewhere. So they just chucked it on there somewhere. So I kind of agree with them. And I also agree that Roger Glover, as a producer, it didn't need to be 5 minutes. It could have been 3 minutes or whatever. It didn't need to be that long. I mean, all he does is say Last Rose of Summer over and over again. Okay, I get it. It's the Last Rose of the Summer, Rob.
But he has to really make that point.
Well, yeah,
Merciful Fate said Rat opened for Billy Squire.
Huh. That's pretty neat. Although
Billy Squire was huge.
Rat and Billy Squire, especially if we're talking early 80s Billy Squire, that's still closer in sound than Judas Priest and REO Speedwagon.
Oh, absolutely. The REO Speedwagon, I don't know. Lou, were you a fan of the early stuff? Because they were pretty.
REOs?
Yeah, I don't know. Weren't they a little heavier before they became,
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't
mean,
a heavy metal band, but Can't Stop Loving You or whatever those sissy songs are.
Keep on loving you and can't fight this feeling anymore. You confuse the song title. Not a big. No, I mean, they were a harder rock band, which is why like the only 3 REO songs you hear on the radio nowadays are those 2 and Take It on the Run. So I guess anything before that is considered too demonic. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, they were a harder rock band. I mean, a lot of hard rock guitar players that came out in the wake of REO Speedwagon's beginning were highly influenced by Gary Richrath.
Enough about REO Speedwagon.
Yeah, why are we talking about REO? We're talking about Judas Priest.
No, I'm trying to finish here. Starbreaker, cool song.
Benny, stay focused.
Sweat my ass off. Let's keep rolling.
Now I want to see how long you can last without that fan on. Starbreaker, like the song's okay, but like we mentioned before, the clapping is very annoying. Last Rose of Summer, not a bad ballad. Let Us Pray, Call for the Priest, very similar to Exciter. Except with a different intro. Again, I really like the dual guitar thing in the beginning, and then Halford at the end, and then Halford singing over that. I think it's really cool. Raw Deal. Sometimes songs just name themselves. Here Comes the Tears. Nice ballad, but one thing I'm not crazy about is Halford screams before the solo part. That's freaking annoying. Those screams. Ah! It's like taking a shit in the bathroom.
If it sounded like that, Wayne,
I'm
would
awake.
be annoyed.
It was
Close.
It was close.
That was really cool.
No, that one's annoying. It's very
Thank you.
Oh, and Music is Life podcast says no more REO talk. All right, fine, we won't.
You know what? I actually would rather talk about REO Speedwagon than the next.
It's always got to be that one guy. Here Comes the Tears. Nice ballad. One thing I'm not crazy about is I did that already. This is an Aggressor classic Priest song, and Race with the Devil, not a terrible song, but for some reason seems a little underdeveloped or something. Actually, I could hear like
it's actually a cover of a song called Gun, and Girl School basically did the definitive version of it about 6 years later.
I had no idea.
But I like that. I like the Priest version. But you're right. It sounds a little underdeveloped, but that's actually from the Stained Class sessions, because when they turned the album into the record label, they said they felt it was too dark and bleak and they wanted them to record a cover song. And they chose to do 2 potentially. One was Race with the Devil, which did Make It Better by You, Better Than Me did end up making the album, which I think was the better choice.
Absolutely.
Another song.
So what I'm getting from a general synopsis from everybody is that this album was not developed properly and did not fit properly. And that
I don't think so.
Correct. It's kind of a hodgepodge of different things, and it's directly in the middle of them becoming fully Judas Priest.
So if you're saying is this would be the Great Jeopardy category called potpourri?
Sure.
It's like a transitional album.
Transitional album, yeah.
Well, that was the great thing about the 70s is record companies would actually develop careers and would allow them at least 2 or 3, sometimes 4 albums to develop their sound and also, create an audience. That's out the window nowadays.
Oh yeah.
But
I know we have SoundCloud now. Come on.
Well, it's short-term thinking. I mean, if you're a young band, I don't know. I just think nowadays, I mean, I get not recorded maybe an album every year, though I wish people would, but every 4 or 5 years. So you're 15 when your first album comes out. Next time the next one comes out, you're 21. That's, anyway, that's another story, but yeah.
Frank Zappa. I was going to say Frank.
Merciful Fate. He's got to change his name. Murphy Full Fate. Last Rose of
Summer.
Murphy has a really cool flow, cool flowy guitar line, and it's why I like this song. So he likes Last Rose of Summer.
It does have a cool guitar line.
He's right, it
will
does.
It's not a terrible song.
It's not a horrible song overall. It just does not fit with the rest of the album in any way. And it's not just that it's a ballad, because they did a ballad in Here Come the Tears that they were able to approach in a heavier manner. They just didn't do it here, and it's out of place.
It's like some kind of cabaret song. I could see him coming out from behind the curtains and leaning against the
a
piano.
dancing skeleton.
Yeah, something like that.
Some folks.
LS.
Well, we
Not,
wouldn't talk
not as
about
cool
that
though.
anymore.
Not as cool as that. What were you saying, Lou? Before I interrupted you twice.
I was going to say
Again.
that Frank Zappa said it best when he said that the record industry was great when you had a bunch of fat guys in offices chomping cigars, just giving money to artists, saying, "Yeah, go ahead. If it's what the kids like, go ahead, just give it up." Well, what happened was the kids that realized that they were tastemakers decided what was popular, and that's when the music industry started dying. So no, Gene Simmons, you're wrong. Rock is not dead because of the fans. It's because of the jackass music industry. Thank you very much. Resume.
Right. Iron Maiden Killers released February 2nd, 1981. It was the first album with Adrian Smith and the last to feature Paul Di'Anno on vocals. He was let go from the band due to his alcohol and drug abuse. It was also the first Iron Maiden album to be produced by Martin Birch, who would produce their albums up through Fear of the Dark. Let's go with James.
All right, let's go, baby. I
took
have
notes.
notes.
You always take the notes on the Iron Maiden albums, which is kind of funny.
Well, it's only because, and I'll be perfectly honest. They have the easier intros to do, and I also didn't have so many of them like Judas Priest did, so I didn't want to be writing a whole manifest while doing this. So I will admit this: my listening to this, for some reason, Amazon decided just to mix all the songs, so I know it doesn't flow. So I'm not dogging that at all. Bring that on. Bring on that whatever that mummified hate, that freaking that most overrated mascot in metal history ever.
Hey,
Bring it on. Bring it on.
The coolest
All right,
mascot
so
in history. Come on.
Ides of March.
Yeah,
Cool
look
intro.
I know. Like, how can I be? Oh, yeah.
That
I'm
is
not
cool.
gonna. Honestly, I'm not gonna hate on this because like I actually enjoy some of the songs on this.
Okay.
So I know, shocker, but Wrathchild. Why wasn't this on the last album? Wrathchild's actually a really good song. Why did I have to suck through all the rest of those songs? That's actually really good. Murders on Rue Mountain.
What?
Marauders. Whatever the fuck.
Murders in
that
the
song is.
Rue
Murders in the Rue Morgue.
Yeah, whatever. For Rue Mountain, it says
There's
Rue
no mountains on Iron Maiden.
just like they are in Florida. Anyway,
Yeah,
so-
Amazon can't spell.
Amazon
What?
can't spell.
I didn't know what
Cool
you was
intro. It's really funny that they're playing too fast for the singer because you can tell like the singer's trying to keep up to the song. They're going way too damn fast. It feels really punk inspired. Like it's like almost, like they're playing over the lyricist, and I enjoy that part of it. So I didn't mind it. Purgatory. I'm in this. They're hiding the keeping the beat fancy better. like from last album. They're hiding it better. Cool guitar solo. Don't ever high yell ever, please, for the love of God.
Oh my God.
That singer, please do
Really?
not do it. It was awful. Genghis Khan.
Now, say I would think you would like his higher screams than like.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did. However, he does not need to do it either. He really doesn't. It sounds
Interesting.
awful.
I like how he does.
Genghis Khan. If Lather, Rinse, and Repeat was a song, Genghis Khan is it.
Oh, I'll kill you while you
Bring
Did
it
you listen
on.
to the same album?
Yes, you did. Innocent Exile. I liked it. But what the hell is the bass player doing in the song?
What?
What the hell is he doing? He's not making any fucking sense. It is the most chopped up thing. It's like he's missing notes halfway through the damn song.
Actually, that's one of my favorite Steve Harris bass lines, but okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean,
no.
he's
When he's
mimicking
hitting the bass
along
line, it's
the
great.
Clive
When he's not
perfect.
hitting it, it sounds like shit. And maybe it's just because I can hear it. But okay.
Okay, first of all, Steve Harris and missing bass notes do not comply.
No, whatever. Well, you can say
your
that. It
headphones
sounds like
work?
shit.
Are your
Anyway.
headphones working?
Yes, they were. They were in my car while I was driving. All right. Prodigal Son. Son. What the fuck it was called.
He's so
I was
pissed. He can't even say
literally
it right.
typing this as I was driving, so get off me.
Jeez.
All right.
How many
I
innocent
like-
women did you kill?
Too many. They were more than this album deserved. Anyway, I like the style of the song. What the fuck are the lyrics singing? What the fuck is that? Drifter, please make it stop. Another line. More of their good shit, less of their bad shit. If you know about Jim Cornette, that saying from Jim Cornette, you would get that line. And then Killers, punk intro. It's an okay Maiden song. I liked it. It wasn't bad.
Oh, so the version they have on Amazon doesn't have Twilight Zone because he screams higher on that than he does in Purgatory.
No, it does not.
Oh, I forgot about Twilight Zone. There is a version on there with Twilight Zone on it. Just
It was on my record.
Well,
was that on
it
the
was,
American
it was
version?
on all the original American and Japanese pressings.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
I didn't hear it, so thus I cannot judge it. But those were my notes. That's what I heard.
Wrong.
You can say I'm wrong. I don't give a shit.
Well, James, overall, what do you feel about the album as a whole?
Much better than the first one.
Okay.
Major step forward. I like the sound better. I see why they got rid of the original lead guitarist because it fits better. I get it that. It sounds better. Sounds like somebody like locked them in and was like, okay, we got to make this sound a little bit more coherent or something. They were able to lock them down and make it a better album. So I will say that it was much better to listen to than the first one.
interesting. Detective John Kimball, you idiot. Priest is better than Maiden for him.
Well,
thank
he
you.
definitely didn't get to be a detective of music. I'll tell you that much.
And Murphy says Steve Harris has a very clicky bass style that is pretty singular to him. Sound could be better. Sound could be. I don't know what that he wrote it wrong. Sound could be
He's
better.
saying you could basically be better or worse. You know, it's like
it wasn't. I don't think. I know I can hear clicky bass styles. I play bass. I know what I'm hearing. It's just that song. I don't know what the fuck happened, but it just it sounded like a jumbled mess to me. So,
Manny,
I love the album Killers. I think it's definitely an improvement over the first one. Martin Birch is a lifesaver. I agree with him. Bringing not Adrian Smith. Sorry. Yeah, it is Adrian Smith. Bringing Adrian Smith in was a stroke of genius. Songwriting is great. Also, this album, in my opinion, shows why Cliff Burr is such an underrated drummer. I mean, the way he clicks with Steve Harris, it's a shame whatever personal issues these two guys had, it didn't last, but amazing drummer. And I think Paul Di'Anno, I think he was a great vocalist. In some ways, I like him better than Bruce Dickinson, but I personally don't think that if they had kept Paul Di'Anno, they would have broken as big internationally. He's not as charismatic as Bruce Dickinson was. Bruce Dickinson has more of a commercial voice, I guess, for lack of a better word. But overall, I like the album a lot better. There's a few songs I don't care for, but Wrathchild, excellent. Innocent Exile, excellent. The title track is excellent. And again, I love the versions on Maiden Japan EP. I think the live versions of that are superior to the studio versions. Granted, it's an EP. I've got a bootleg with the entire performance, but overall, I like it. Anyway.
Lou, I'm letting Greg go last because this is, I don't want to give it away.
All right. But before I begin, I want to just respectfully disagree with Manny that obviously that they needed Bruce to become more popular. I think it's safe to say that Maiden were on their way to popularity with Di'Anno because first, National European Tour was opening for Kiss. Killers was their first album to make its debut in the Billboard Top 200. Tour of Japan, tour of the United States, opening for Judas Priest. They were on their way. I personally think because of the strength of the songs that they were writing, that even if they did Number of the Beast with Di'Anno, or even if they did a third album with Di'Anno, they still would have gone upwards. But that's just my opinion. The reason why Di'Anno quit was because he felt like it was the Steve Harris, Rod Smallwood band, and he said that it wasn't fun for him anymore. So they just gave him $30,000. no future royalties, and he went on his way. But I have to give praise to Maiden because they just paid off the rest of Paul Di'Anno's leg surgery. So good on Iron Maiden for that.
That is cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. So just to let you know what a Maiden fanboy I am, the original album, the last one to have Sanctuary on the release, the best of the B-sides, just so I could have the B-sides from the original 5 albums, 2 versions of Killers. One is the Castle release, thank you, Wayne, which actually has Women in Uniform, Invasion, live version of Phantom of the Opera, and the 5 songs of Made in Japan that were released in the United States only, because the Japanese European one only had 4 out of those 5 songs. And this is the last American reprint to have Twilight Zone on it, since Twilight Zone was a single, not an album cut. Also, the Purgatory single that has the 4 cuts of Made in Japan, and a bootleg CD version of the Soundhouse tapes, which has a shit ton of unreleased Maiden stuff on their actual albums. Iron Maiden's Killers is my 3rd favorite album of all time, right under Van Halen's Fair Warning and Ozzy's Diary of a Madman, just above Def Leppard's High and Dry. I love this album. There is not a bad song on it. James, I love you, but you're wrong.
Okay to be wrong, Lou. It's all right, bro.
That's okay. But you know, I'm not saying that Maiden didn't do great after this album, but for me, hearing this for the first time as a 6-year-old, it made a huge impact on me. And, you know, again, credit to the lineup that they had at the time. I still say to this day that Clive Burr is my favorite Iron Maiden drummer, and Adrian Smith only added to the greatness of the band. And Martin Birch, you couldn't ask for a better producer for Maiden. All due respect to Kevin the Caveman Shirley, no, there isn't. Martin Birch is the definitive Maiden producer. So,
Absolutely.
you know, Killers had all the elements that made it work.
Watch out, Lou. There's a killer behind you.
There's a what?
Killer behind you.
He lunges, prepare for attack.
If you're doing me a favor, come on.
So you really think he went with Paul Di'Anno? I mean, Paul Di'Anno is a great vocalist, but in my opinion, I don't think, at least in the United States, I don't think they would have made it as big with him. And I'm a huge fan of Paul Di'Anno than they did with Bruce Dickinson. That's just, but I just think that was interesting. I mean, you are right. They were on their way up. It wasn't like, they were on a downward, but downward.
I don't think they would have fizzled, if that's what you're asking.
No, I don't think they would have fizzled, but I don't know if they would have broken the States in the way that they did with gold and platinum albums with Paul Di'Anno. I mean, I know eventually Iron Maiden and Killers went platinum over here, I'm pretty sure. But
I could have used one more album with Di'Anno.
I think that would have been great, actually, but
it couldn't have been Number of the Beast, though. I can't see him doing a lot of those.
No, I
guess he could have done most of it.
Some of them.
Like,
I don't know, though. His voice is so different than Bruce Dickinson. I have a hard time imagining him.
I would rather hear Paul try to do Children of the Damned than ever hear Bruce sing for Tomorrow.
Yeah, that's my one bone of contention. I'm sick of hearing Wrathchild at Iron Maiden concerts. Because I saw the Final Frontier tour. They were supposed to play Passchendaele. By the time they got to New York, they dropped Passchendaele from the set list and replaced it with Wrathchild. That pissed me off because I didn't want to hear Wrathchild for the millionth time again.
I saw them on their Early Days tour, and they actually did Another Life and Drifter.
And they opened, if they did a full-length tour, of a full-length show, they would have opened with Murders in the Rue Morgue as opposed to Wrathchild.
That would have been interesting.
Yes, they did. It was very cool.
So then you must have seen the Ozfest that year.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I saw them twice. I saw them on their own, which was the full set, and then Ozfest because they were playing before Black Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
Shorter set.
Greg, I'm gonna let you go. I'll be
well. Lou, first of all, I find it very strange but interesting that we both heard this when we were 6. This was my first heavy metal album ever, and I was instantly fucking enthralled with it. was just looking through my dad's records for whatever reason. See this cover, with just Eddie looking super badass with the hatchet, the blood dripping off of it and the pooling hands, and then just all the neat stuff in the background, like the Ruskin Arms pub, the black cat in the window, the kinky sex shop. Just
I
very
love the little Easter eggs that Derek Riggs threw in there. They're all great.
yes.
wonder if I still have
And so it's hard to say because my top 3 albums, Diamond Head, Lightning of the Nation, Black Sabbath, Born Again, Iron Maiden, Killers, they could all switch position depending on my mood, but this is probably still my favorite album of all time. But and it's not just because it was a formative thing and I heard it early, but I mean, this is a 10 out of 10. It's just great. Everything just comes together here. Adrian Smith was that missing piece, and it's definitely one of Clive's and especially Paul Di'Anno's shining moments. Murders in the Rue Morgue, which is maybe my favorite Iron Maiden song ever. Like, I don't hear what James hears. I think Paul's great and right in step with the rest of them. But, and on Innocent Exile, like you mentioned, it sounds odd because of what Steve's doing, playing along to Clive's Tom fills, but it's actually pretty amazing and cool sounding to me, the way they're keeping that together. And then, Adrian comes in on this and totally makes that classic sound, just the way he melds with Dave and the way they're doing twin leads, but they're not playing the exact same thing. They're doing things that complement the other player at the same time, and that's just awesome. Best twin guitar team outside of Thin Lizzy. They just took that and improved on it so much. And it's really, this is just fully that distinctive Maiden sound and laid the groundwork. It's explosive. Every instrument is top notch. Paul's on the top of his game. The songwriting's excellent. Even the slower one where he's singing an ode to the pagan god Lamia, by the way, James, that's about. I thought that was a great moment, a slower one, but it just showed off their prowess.
Would you say that Adrian Smith and Dave Murray are a better guitar team than Glenn Tipton and KK Downing?
Oh, there's no question about that. I mean, Glenn and KK are good, but they're nowhere near as interesting to me as Dave and Adrian. Dave and Adrian are just so much more in tune, and they have different strengths where they complement each other better, where Adrian's more melodic and he stretches out a little bit more, whereas KK and Glenn, despite being slightly different, were pretty much in the same style. And because of that, while I do like a lot of the twin guitar stuff in Judas Priest, it's just not as interesting to me as what Maiden was capable of with Adrian.
You like the symmetry rather than the actual dualness of having both of them play similar but different. You like the symmetry of Iron Maiden's guitarists.
Yes, they're building like
Yes.
a soundscape.
It is a fuller sound. I will agree.
I agree it's a fuller sound, but I disagree. I find KK and Glenn a little bit more interesting than I do Smith and Murray. But I do agree with you, Greg, that it definitely is. It's definitely a thicker, bigger sound with Iron Maiden, and I agree with that.
I mean, we can take 2 songs right now, even though it's from a later album. But "Free Will Burning," they basically just repeat. It sounds cool because they're wailing, but they just basically repeat the same thing after each other over and over. Whereas on like Another Life, it has a fuller sound to it where it's slightly different. And
Well, it also helps that Martin Birch is a superior producer than Tom Allum or whatever his name is, who is a good producer too. I'm not going to put him down. But those 2 bands, I guess we'll talk about it down the road, but the fact that they're compared and we're doing it too, but we're doing it for fun. I don't really see that much similarity other than what you said, that they became popular around the same time, in the early 80s.
Well, you can hear a lot of Priest influences from those 70s albums in both Killers and the first Iron Maiden record, though.
Yeah. Yeah, but Iron Maiden made it their own. I agree with you. It's not
Oh
like
no,
a
they definitely did.
yeah, it's not a Crocus thing where you pick up a Crocus album and you play name that riff. Iron Maiden's definitely not that.
No, and what I was getting at is I think where the comparison comes in is where Maiden definitely did their own thing, and that's another thing I think makes this so much stronger. Killers, where it can beat out two albums, they had it ready to go in the can and just were so much more focused on what they were doing, whereas Priest was kind of finding their sound. But
Right.
Shit, I forgot my original point. It's so fucking hot in here.
Are you done?
Yeah, because I can't remember what said that I was originally responding to.
It'll come back to you. Christ, Eric Adams is back. You can hear a lot. Please look at us. We are like Maiden from Priest, 1983. I don't know. He's not even speaking English.
That doesn't even make any sense.
He doesn't speak a lot of English to begin with. So.
I think where the comparison comes in, where people do it so heavily between the two of them, is because even though Maiden definitely took it and made it their own, I think they're one of the clearest examples and one of the first bands that really grew out of the groundwork that Judas Priest specifically laid in the mid to late 70s.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, cool. Ides of March, great intro. And did anybody know that actually Samson used that?
Yeah, Barry
Yes.
from Samson claims during the short while he was in the band, he came up with the drum riff, and he wants to be credited on it because Samson did their own version and he credited Steve, but they didn't. And what he seems like a stupid thing to complain about for me, but I guess if you're in Samson, it would be nice to be associated with Iron Maiden in some way.
Well, Thunderstick was a member for all of one show, I think.
Yes. That's why
I refer to that as the Zoidberg defense. Someone's paying attention to me.
Wow.
But it's a great driving intro, though. And Clive definitely plays it better than Perkis does.
Oh, yeah. I listened to it earlier because I never heard of it before. And it's just like kind of just generic.
I love the new wave of British heavy metal, but I really don't care for Samson all that much.
Yeah.
I can't believe you dropped Thunderstick's real name. Oh,
I couldn't remember his stupid
Barry Perkis.
Thunderstick, yeah. Well,
Samson were generic.
In the business.
Can you picture Bruce Dickinson saying, "And now our drummer Barry, Thunderstick."
Looks better with the mask on, don't he?
He does.
Come on, Live After Death, yeah.
Rat Child, I love. I don't know. I mean, I can understand you being sick of that song, Lou, because they play it all the time in concerts. But I don't know. I never get sick of that, especially when you hear that bass line. Just get you pumped.
I'll tell you why I'm sick of it. Predominantly, I don't like the way Nico plays it.
No, I can understand that.
Yeah, he's very honest, about it, where he admits he can't play it like Clive does, and he even sounds like he feels a little inferior, and he does do a good job. But yeah, I'm like Lou, it bugs me a little bit to hear it live.
Well, guys, I hate to leave it before it ends, but I have to leave so thank you for having me on as usual. And
we will be back.
I think it's actually a good time good cue to skidoo there, Wayne.
What?
Well, Manny, give us your ratings real quick.
Okay. Boy, I thought I was going to lean more toward Judas Priest because I'm such a huge Judas Priest fan, but I'm going to give the slight win to Iron Maiden Killers for the same reasons that you mentioned, Greg. I mean, it was fully formed. They're ready to go right out of the can. The production's better. And frankly, the songwriting's better. And I love Sin After Sin and Sad Wings of Destiny, but slight edge to Iron Maiden. And this will probably be the last time I give the edge to Iron Maiden, maybe, but I don't know, But, and Paul Di'Anno, underrated vocalist. Oh, before I go, Wayne, Greg, do you agree with me or disagree with me? If they had hung on to Paul Di'Anno, they would have made it as huge in the States.
They would not have made it as huge in the end, but I still think Number of the Beast would have pretty much gone the same way, and they still would have attained that next level. But as much as I like Paul better than Bruce, they wouldn't have been able to attain that arena level, evolve as forward as they were able to on Peace of Mind, Power Slave, Somewhere in Time, and Seventh Son. It's just not possible with him and his vocal style. And I think they needed to grow to attain that.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with him too. And you can even see how Di'Anno's after he left Maiden, how his his career went. So really,
well, yeah, that's a different story.
Yeah, Battlezone was legitimately pretty good, but
I agree.
What his voice is suited to just isn't the platinum success of Power Slave or Somewhere in Time.
Yeah.
Fortunately,
those albums could not have been done.
Killers better than both of those records. It's just how it is.
Paul's self-titled Diana release that came out right after this was not good. I
have it.
I was hoping no one would bring that up. I'm gonna have Heart User stuck in my head the rest of
I have that album, and it's if you ever wanted to know what Paul Di'Anno would sound like fronting a Journey band that's really not good at being Journey, get the album.
I bought it by accident. I originally thought it was a Levi's catalog.
Actually, it's just sponsored by Levi's on the back or something.
He is rocking the Canadian tuxedo on it.
Yeah.
Well, he does sing good on it. It's just the songs are, well, they're shitty. You don't know what else to say.
Be honest with you, he does a better job in an AOR record than I thought he would have. But yeah, they're not well written songs.
No, and obviously they called it Di'Anno for, because he just left Iron Maiden, he didn't even write any of the crap on there. I've got a DVD where they perform these songs. I should find a copy and send it to all you guys to see how long you last watching it.
I didn't last watching it.
We can do that for Halloween.
You guys can do that for Halloween. I'll go to a haunted house and torture myself that way.
And that was at the Capitol Center, I think.
Yes, or something like that. Yeah.
I've seen a couple of series of that British television show. I saw that one, Magnum, Mama's Boys. When I take Magnum over anything Paul Di'Anno does, it was a bad concert.
Well, I actually bought it on DVD because I've never seen this before, and I've never seen it since. It's still in the collection, but I will play it if I want guests to leave my house. Anyway, guys, I will talk to you soon.
On that note.
And on that note,
night, Manny.
Cool. All right, Manny. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Wayne, finish what you were saying about the record. Go ahead.
Murders in the Rue Morgue. Intro makes you think there's a ballad coming, but nope, kicks into a really kick-ass song. I love everything about this. The guitar chords, the bass lines, the vocals always stick in my head. I know this song so good. It's just I sing along to the guitar chords, It's
yes,
awesome
they're that infectious on this album. Every chord, every riff,
right?
It's just
Another Life. This one's a bit different than the previous songs, but there's basically no chorus, and there's a lot of little changes in this song. But I like it. Genghis Khan, I don't like it as much as Transylvania, but it's almost there. There's a lot more going on in this one. I like it, just not as much as Transylvania. But I love the song. I love when the song speeds up and Clive is playing some pretty fast drum parts. Also love towards the end of the song with that echoey guitar solo thing, that melody.
Oh yeah, I love that.
I love that.
His drumming's my favorite part of it, though, and I love how there's different parts and changes more so than Transylvania. I like
that too, but there's just something about Transylvania I just like more. I don't know. Innocent Exile again. There's a lot of no chorus on this whole album.
They have choruses.
They are, but it's not like the typical Iron Maiden type chorus where like it's like a big deal. Like you're waiting to get there.
I think that's why I prefer it, because some of those choruses just get so damn repetitive.
Right. No, exactly. And this album proves that you really don't need choruses because the songs stand on their own without
also shows that they can't. They have the ability to not be so damn repetitive. But obviously they break that again.
Right.
Oh yeah, like I said, I can already see it coming.
But that's another song where the guitar work gets stuck in my head. Killers, another classic Maiden song. Love the intro to this where it just builds up for over like a minute. Then the song kicks in, and I already mentioned that. Prodigal Son, not one of my favorite songs on the album, but it is good and better than any of the Priest ballad songs. This also showed that Di'Anno could sing these type of songs. Cool song, nice trade-off guitar solo. Purgatory, the pace is picked up again for this song, and listening to this album, I realized this might be the fastest Maiden album ever, really. Every song
I
seems
think
like
it
it's
is
like
actually.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
it's like one relentless song after the other. Love the chorus part in this song, and it's also my favorite part where Clive is doing those tom fills.
Yes.
There's a lot of hard things in there, and he's doing a lot of like the tom fills, and then he's going back to the hi-hats, and he's like all over the place. I don't know. And I think in one part he kind of did like stumble a little bit. It's like really quick.
He does. He's yeah, I know where you're talking about. I mean, it's less than half a second.
Right.
Goes to do something, realizes it's wrong, and then goes back.
Right.
Which song in Purgatory?
In Purgatory, yeah. It's the
Or
first
Purgatory.
it's the first like part where he does the first fills. There's like a little hiccup there because he doesn't do it again on the second one.
A slight one, but
It's very
I
slight.
mean,
It's very
it
slight.
was. I liked it.
It works and it fits in there, but I
Sometimes mistakes are good.
yeah, they are. So I love that song. Sounds really cool, and I don't think Nico could pull that song off.
No,
I don't think he could do that part.
I don't think he could do Genghis Khan either.
Probably not. Twilight Zone. It wasn't on the thing, but I do love that song. It's a really cool
Me
song.
too.
Yeah, I wish it would be on the regular album. It should be. It fits with the album. So
I mean, for me, it is. I have the Japanese one, so
yeah, it's on my other ones too. Drifter. The song is very similar to Sanctuary and Iron Maiden, but much better. Catchy guitar intro. There's a strange part in the middle where the guitars sound really happy, but then it changes back into the more darker tone, and it's a really cool ending for the album. That little happy like guitar thing.
Yeah.
I could see what's his name? Steve Murray with his smiling face playing that.
Yeah,
Dave Murray. Yeah.
During that part, during the live shows, they would kind of slow it down on that, is where Paul would talk to the audience and
do the reggae chant.
I can't remember which one of the early live EPs it is, but I have it on one of them. I think it's Live Plus One. But my mom would always mess with me because she said it used to piss her off because he just goes, yo, 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 over and over.
It's the Sanctuary single. The Sanctuary single had Drifter live, and it actually had their cover of Montrose's I've Got the Fire, which man, that was I never heard anyone do a Hagar song better than that. That was good.
Me neither. I do like the version they did with Bruce as a B-side on Peace of Mind, though I will say he did do a good job on that. But yeah, Paul's definitely the superior version.
And Eric Adams says we're all out of the will, but most of us here like the Iron Maiden album, so I don't know what his problem is.
It's me. I'm out of the will.
No, we said you're all out of the will.
Yeah, no, but I was already.
Because we're praising Diano over Dickinson. So
yeah, he loves Dickinson. So.
Yeah, he loves Dick something. Detective John Kimball. So when do we get more of Tolkien? I don't know. Whenever I feel like asking him to come on,
we don't know what happened to him.
Nothing happened to him, just me. I just haven't had time.
Oh,
okay. Doesn't he have a kindergarten of police anyway? What's he bothering us for?
I'm Detective John Kimball, you idiot.
It's
I'm
not a tumor.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
This is a ferret.
But no, I
boys have a penis. Girls have a vagina.
It's not a tumor.
I will have to get a hold of Timo at some point. I do have to do something with him. But,
so I'm actually going to do something crazy here with the rankings of this, because
go ahead.
I feel like the Judas Priest albums, even though we have two of them, I can't compare both of them. They're just two completely different albums.
Right.
So I put it's Sad Wings for me as number one for this week. Then it's Killers, and then it's Sin. I just did not like Sin After Sin. So that's the last place. I think Killers and Sad Wings are very close to each other, which is me giving Iron Maiden way higher praise than I did last week or 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I know, right? I mean, you can fist pump to that.
I love being right all the time.
It's a better album. They're better songs. It's less of the bad shit, more of the good shit. So
I really think Dennis Stratton being gone and Adrian finally being in the band just made such a huge difference. His style was just so different. I think that's what led to a lot of that repetitiveness and other stuff.
But I liked his guitar solos, so
it's funny because because you mentioned Ralph Vieira before, Wayne, and he admitted that the first Maiden is his favorite Maiden album,
Right.
and his favorite era of Priest is 70s Priest.
Right.
So he would have been an interesting perspective to have on the show as well. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. I could have asked him, but then the show would have been like 5 hours.
This is true.
And hello, Sammy.
Sammy Van
Sammy.
did.
Sammy's on the show.
Yep,
She's
he's
in your
my
chat. As if you're it's Greg's girlfriend.
Oh, hey, Sammy.
Yes. Welcome to the show. You're late because the show is over. But Greg, what are you ranking these albums? Obviously we already know what your first.
Well, if we would do a 1, 2, 3, it'd be Killers, Sad Wings, and then Sin After Sin, obviously. But Killers, definitely a perfect 10 out of 10. Fuck, it's an 11. I mean, there's no way around it. It's perfect.
Oh, okay.
Heavy
There.
metal
All
record.
right, there. Why don't you just make 10 louder?
Sad guy. Sad Wings, I like a lot. It's a good record, even though it has a couple flaws. I'd give it about a 8.5. Sin After Sin is just to cut and paste and all over the place. It while it has some good songs, it just doesn't function well as an album. I give it a 6. It's average.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Lou.
I think I'm in the minority of this group. I place Sin After Sin above Sad Wings of Destiny.
Really?
Yeah. Because Sinner, Starbreaker, Dissident Aggressor, they always end up in my playlists of whenever I make a classic metal
Sinner and
playlist.
Starbreaker do for me as well, but I'm using the live versions.
I enjoy the studio versions. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you that the Unleashed in the East is the best one, but that's an album that I have to listen to from start to finish. But you know, I also have the Mythology box set, and the studio versions are on it. And I actually admit I owned that before I had the CDs. So you know, those songs are on it, but. Yeah, and again, it's just my opinion. Sin After Sin above Sad Wings of Destiny, but Killers trumps all of it.
Funny, the Mythology. No. What's the other? What's the box set?
That is the box set.
It is the box set. All right.
Are you thinking Metalworks 73 to 93?
Yes, I'm thinking of that. I'm kind of confused.
Okay,
but
that's a dual disc.
Metallology was the first one I had as well of Judas Priest.
It's okay to be wrong anytime.
I mean, the reason why I went on and got that box set was because that's when they said that they were reuniting with Halford. They were going to do Ozfest. To this day, that Jones Beach concert with Sabbath and Priest, best Ozfest I ever went to. One of my top 10 favorite concerts that I've ever seen.
Oh, easily. And I mean, well, it was such a great set list too. I mean, fuck, they did Beyond the Realms of Death. I'll never.
That was insane. I mean, there was that Ozfest for me was perfect because it was like the first real metal Ozfest. I know there's a lot of people out there that like new metal, and that's fine. But for me, it's like that Ozfest had Sabbath, Priest, Slayer, Dimmu Borgir on the main stage. And on the second stage, you had Lamb of God, Slipknot, Hatebreed, Every Time I Die, Atreyu, a lot of bands from that time that I liked. So for me, that was like that. I'm sorry?
A lot of new metal in that. Slipknot, Atreyu.
But you know, I think
I wouldn't
call Atreyu new metal.
On that one there, Chief.
They were more like metal,
whatever.
Metalcore,
emo metal.
Well, yeah, but they had
no.
guitar
The
solos.
Ozfest I went to was more new metal. That was Disturbed, Korn, Motograter.
That was the year prior.
Yeah, that was 2003. Voivod was there, which is the most important.
That was,
Voivod did not show up to ours.
They didn't?
No.
Oh, wow. I got to see them. They were amazing.
No, yeah. I had the wonderful and exciting Cradle of Filth.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it was not a good time. Straight up had bad time again.
But that Ozfest had Shadows Fall and Killswitch Engage, and I was really happy about that.
Shadows Fall. I did not get Killswitch. I had freaking E-Town Concrete.
Well, E-Town replaced Nothing Face because they broke up. on that tour because TVT stopped paying their tour
Literally
support.
did not get Kill Switch either.
That sucks.
Really? That's
Shadows Fall was the first fucking band out at 9:00 in Atlanta, Georgia, in the morning. Rolled out there. I think it was Chimera came in for Kill Switch.
No, Chimera was part of the whole tour.
Oh. I don't know, but somebody didn't come in because we didn't get Kill Switch and we didn't get Nothing Face.
Well, like I said, Nothing Face dropped off the tour by the time it got to Atlanta because TVT X'd their tour support. So E-Town Concrete replaced them for the remainder of the tour.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the 2004 Ozfest, I mean, that was definitely more hardcore metalcore influence in there. But still, I mean, on the main stage, we got Slayer, Priest, and Sabbath and Demu, who, as much as I like some Cradle stuff, I think Demu as a band is just light years above.
Oh, Demo would have been a way better show. Freaking Cradle was just like, it was all theatrics. I'm sitting there going like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. The cool thing about Priest, though, was that right before they came on, it started thunderstorming and the lightning strikes occurred at the pivotal points of their songs. My wife, who I was dating at the time, asked me, is this part of the show? I'm like, I don't think so, but this is pretty exciting. Yeah, you're right. So that was pretty cool. At every pivotal point in a Priest song, lightning strike. That was great.
Yeah, and I'm going to pick. I'm going with Greg. Killers, Sad Wings, and Sinner. Sin after Sin.
Yeah.
So Iron Maiden wins again for a second time.
Yep.
Yeah.
They will not win for me next time, though.
Really?
Oh, so Number of the Beast is not your.
Number of the Beast is their worst album of the 80s. It's very disjointed and boring.
Believe it or not, a lot of casual fans love that fans, but a lot of Maiden fans that have followed them since the beginning it's a very polarizing record for some of them.
Interesting.
I have not listened to much of it outside of the hits, so I will be coming into it fresh faced and probably hating the world. Bring it on.
That's all right. That's okay. But all right, so Killers wins this time. And we will not be here next week. I will be away, but we will be here the following week. I believe that's the 20th, if I'm correct. Right?
Probably.
Yeah, close enough. We'll be here. I'll let you guys know. Check out Facebook and you'll see when we will be on next. Actually, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Hit subscribe here on YouTube. Anywhere else? Go to ratsaladreview.com. Go to musicisLifepodcast.com.
Comment,
my
subscribe.
link tree.
And go to his link tree, whatever the link is for that.
Music is Life Podcast. MusicisLifepodcast.com is currently being repaired.
Right.
So instead of us next week, I'll probably have my episode from Eternal Con, which is a Long Island Comic Con. And I'll try to get my interview with Michael Brandvold, the Three Sides of the Coin, out. So
I have an announcement.
What?
That I have started another podcast on the opposite day, so I will still be here, but it will be college football based.
Oh, wow.
It is called No Huddle, and it is with me and a person that I've met and have become good friends with, Caleb Davis. It is on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, and we're going to be starting during the season. I'm actually editing episode 1 as we speak.
Congratulations!
Very cool. Can't wait.
Yeah, we're talking conference expansions and everything going on in the world. Now you'll enjoy this. You'll have Southern California University and the College of Los Angeles coming to wonderful Rutgers, New Jersey.
Boo.
Very excited. Cool. Very cool. Can't wait to hear that.
Yeah, you can probably gather around and miss that, but it's okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to listen to it, but can't wait for everybody else to hear it. I hate sports.
There is a hardcore fan base out there for college sports. So
there is.
Oh, yes, there is, and I live in it.
Yes, and I have faith in you. You have the voice to do that. So
I said you should have been hired for like a sports radio station.
Oh God, you know what? If they didn't have like 5 of them in this area already, I probably would have been.
Well, maybe one day. But let's get out of here because Greg is dying. I can see he's
Yeah, he is.
I'm
he
dripping
is
like a
sweating.
virgin on prom night over here.
You
100 degrees.
see, this guy saw his tongue hanging out of his mouth like a few seconds ago. Get that man some water. So get out of here, and I will see.
Get the water. Get him a freaking Pepto-Bismol.
So I will see you guys in a few weeks, and take care of yourselves. And yeah, that's it. Bye.
Dimoni.
Stay away from the Florida mountains.
There are mountains in Florida.
Small ones.
238 of them.
347 feet is the highest elevation for the Florida mountains.
Still
The
a mountain.
Sir
large
David Lee Roth's
hill.
climbed them.
It is a very dangerous hill.
Yeah, Benny Hill. Good night, everybody.
Goodbye.